This video is going to cover creating bent cross sections. I'm going to use a Word document that I have created. It's got a few steps to do this. We'll use this, we'll follow along and do it in our project. Now the project that I'm using is just the Road 1 Route 54 project that we have out here. You'll see that I have some bent cross sections out here, bent lines, pattern lines, whatever you want to call them. I got a bunch of these out here just to use for this little demonstration. I'll go back to the Word document. Get within range here. It wants us to either use a place line, a smart line, civil point to point, any type of line that you have out there to place a pattern line that will represent the bent section. So usually this is for like culvert sections and stuff like that. So if you want to do this, this is the way to do it, or one of the ways to do it. You can see I've got screenshots in here as well showing what I've got over here. You'll also notice that in my 2D window that I have some station and offsets out here. Now the way this is going to work is when we do a bent cross section, my station's running from north to south. You can see by my stationing. Okay, so left to right would be right to left. Okay, so that's the way you have to build these things. Okay, I have the stationing and the offset out here to show you that what it's going to tell us is when we create our bent cross section, and in this case on this very first one, when I create it, I'm going to snap to this point, this end point, and I'm going to snap to the midpoint, and I'm going to call that one name boundary. Then I'm going to go back and start at the middle of that, and then go off to the right, and that'll be the second part of the name boundary. It's later on where we can take those in the sheet model and place them next to each other. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. But the station and offset, what this is going to tell us is the station is picked up right where the pattern line, wherever it's at, crosses the alignment. Okay, so the very first one will always take on the stationing of the beginning station. Okay, so it's going to be the 602, 59, 49. So you're going to end up with a couple of those. That's what it's going to do. Okay, so let me get back to my Word document and get going on this. The next tip is to open up the 2D and 3D windows, which is the F6 key, so that the name boundary cross sections tool will work. So if you've done cross section before, you know you have to have both those windows. Okay. Now preparing the name boundary dialog. So we're going to open up the place name boundary tool. We're going to select the mode of civil cross section 2 points tool. It's shown by this little icon here. It's going to be that one. We're going to select a drawing seed with the desired scale for your project, whatever you want on that one. And then we're going to uncheck the create drawing box down here. Most of the time it comes on automatically. We don't want to create our drawings right away. We want to wait till later. So, and we'll use the manager tool to create the models. So let's get to that point. So let's go ahead and open that dialog. Again, I'm in the Open Roads Modeling. I'm going to go to Drawing Production, and I'm going to hit the icon up here, the name boundary icon. I'll pick that. When I bring it over, it goes to plan sheets right off, but that's what it defaults to. And we don't want to do a civil plan. We're doing cross sections, but we're actually not going to do the civil cross section. We're going to go to that civil cross section 2 points. I apologize if I clear my throat a lot. I've got a little bit of allergies going on. But we're going to do a civil cross section 2 point. The next thing that we need to do is come out and pick a drawing seed. And for this one, we'll just go ahead and pick a 10 scale. And then I'm going to make sure this is unchecked. This down here is create drawing, which it is. And then the next step that you want to do is down here in the bottom left. It's going to tell us, you see down here, place name boundary, civil cross section 2 point. Identify the path element. So then we'll go into that Route 54 alignment out there. We'll go ahead and left click on that to start this. Okay, so once you've picked it, you can see the name is populated for Route 54. Let me go back to my instructions. That brings us down to number 7, which is identify the path, and that's what we did. Then we're going to use the key point snap along with the Aki snap to select the left side of the alignment as the first point. Okay, now we're always, there's a note here, always travel left or right going with the stationing, or the cross section will mirror. And that would be the second one. The first one looked all right, but the second one, as soon as you do it the opposite way, it's going to flip it. So you always want to travel left or right on your stationing. And then we'll select the middle point as the second snap point of the bent cross section. And then the last part of it will be accepting a blank area to create the first part of the bent cross section named boundary. And you'll notice the name boundary is created in the 3D window as well. So let's go do all that. Okay, so I'm going to come back over here. I'll move this out of the way so we can see it populate. Now I'm just going to go to this first pattern line I have. Okay, so it says enter first point down here in my status bar. So I'm going to go to that far right side, which will be the left side of my alignment. I got the gold X. I see my key point snap icon up there. I'm going to go ahead and left click to start it. And then I'm going to move in. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because I don't want to make a mistake. I want to actually get that pattern line and not hit my arrowhead that I have out here. And you wouldn't have arrowheads. I just put them out there to show you where it's at. Actually, I could have turned them off. But I'm going to go ahead. I get my gold arrow or gold X. I see my icon. I'm going to go ahead and left click. Okay. Once you left click, now I want you to accept out in a blank field to place that name boundary. So I'm going to go out and left click. And when I do, you can see that we now have in our 3D window a name boundary. Okay, so that's the first part of it. Now we didn't create that drawing yet. We're just storing these, and then later on we're going to come back and do them. So let's go back to the Word document. So that was the first side. Now place the second side of the name boundary. We're going to select the alignment to start. You have to do it every time with that 2 point. You'll have to go back and always select that alignment before you can start creating that cross section. Okay, we're going to do that to start the second part of the bent cross section. After the alignment has been selected, change the group name to follow the first group name. You want to put these in the same group. Okay, so we'll do that as well. Using the key point snap, we're going to do like we did. We're going to snap along with the AccuSnap. Select the middle point to start. It'll be our end point of the first line as the second point, and then and the last point for the 2 point creation. And then again, we'll have to accept off in a blank area to create that second part of that name boundary. So let's go do all that. So I have to select my alignment, hover over, make sure it says Route 54. This one does. I'm going to accept it. I'm clicking on it. Now I want to start where I left off. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. I'm going to get to that next pattern line and go ahead and I see my gold X. I see my icon. I'm going to left click. That's where I'm starting. Now before I go any further, I want to change this group to Route 54. I want them all to be in the same group. Okay. And then I'm going to come down here to the bottom part of this, the right side, the far right side. I'm going to get my gold X. My icon's lit up for my key point snap. I'm going to go ahead and left click again. Okay, and then the last step of this is to go ahead and accept in a blank area to create that other name boundary. So I'm going to go ahead and left click. And when I do, you can see there's another name boundary that's been created. Okay, so we're good on that. And once we've done that, let's go back to the instructions. And at this point in time, it says we're ready to go to the name boundary manager. I'm going to do one more. So let me minimize this again, and let's do the next one at least. Let's do one more to make sure we get this right. So the tools initiated. We've got to select 2 points. First thing we want to do is select our alignment. So we'll pick our alignment, and then we're going to start building these name boundaries from left to right. So I go left, stationing, gold X. I see my key point snaps available. I left click. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I want to make sure I get to the end point of that line, which is somewhere under that arrowhead, as you can see. And I'm going to get it to where it turns gold. Gold X. Key point snap, left click. Once I've got that one picked, I can go into a blank area and accept that. And we'll see over in the 3D window, eventually when this wheel quits rolling around, you can see that we do have another piece out there. So I'll do one more, I'll finish this other side off, and then we'll go into doing the rest of the instructions. So I'm going to pick the Route 54. Again, I want to get to the endpoint of that first line so I can see. I'm going to zoom on in here a little bit, make sure it's highlighted, gold, got the key point snap. I'm just hovering over it. I like it. I'm going to left click to start it. And then we'll zoom out a little bit and we'll get to the opposite end of this. So again, I want that gold X, my key point snap, left click, and then we'll move off into a blank area and accept that. So now I have 4 name boundaries, 2 sets of pattern lines, and they're all in this Route 54 group. Okay, so I'm done with this part. I'm going to go ahead and close out of the tool, hit the F4, the element selection tool, and then we'll go back to the instructions. Okay, using the name boundary manager to create cross-section models. Now that the 2 cross sections have been created, actually we have 4, creating the bent, representing the bent cross sections, you can move on to the name boundary manager. First thing we want to do is open the cross section group, and yes, it's step 16, but we're looking at step 1 or item 1, which would be this item here, and then 2 would be here, and 3 would be here. So first thing we're going to do is open up the cross section group and select the group. In this example, we're using Route 54. Okay, so we're going to select that, and then we're going to ensure that the Show Create Drawing dialog is checked on, and that's that pencil with the little squiggly line that we always talk about. We want that on. And then the third thing that we're going to do is go ahead and run these. We're going to hit the button to actually create the cross-section drawing. And then last will be okay to open up the next one. So let's do all that and get to that point, and then we'll come back to the manual. So to get to this tool, you can get to it many ways. Since I have this all open over here, I just tend to go to the name boundary manager, which is this little icon up here at the top. I'll select it. I'll open it up. Now there's a trick. If you do not see anything in your name boundaries tool out here, like we just created some and you know there should be some there, just simply close the tool and open it again. I see I have them, but that's one little bug that they have, is that sometimes you open it up and you don't see any cross sections or profiles or plans or anything. You don't see anything, or a detail sheet that you have, it's not there. So just close it and reopen it and it magically appears. Okay, so I'm going to open up my cross section groups, and then I'll just show you that we have the 4 that we created, and you'll see the stationing. The far left side will be 602.59.49, and then the second one will be 602.59.49-1. The right side is given the station where those pattern lines cross the alignment, so 605.17.93 and 606.59.19. The instructions call for us to select this button, so we'll do that. We'll create hit the Show the Create Drawing dialog. Once that's picked, I got to make sure I'm selecting 54. That's number 1. Let me select it, and then we can go to the Create Cross Section Drawing. It's going to bring up the dialog. I'm getting a wheel on this a lot. And then all you want to do in here is really give it an annotation group if you want to. And you can always come back at the end and add annotation to your cross-section sheets later, however you want to do it. I'm just doing it in this process. And in this one, I'm going to go ahead and do major grid only. Everything else should be defaulted correctly. Your scales that you're concerned about is for your drawing model, 1 inch equals 10, which is picked up automatically. And then the detail scale should be 1 inch equals 10, which is picked up automatically unless you've created a couple cross sections. Then it may go back to 1, which you'd want to make sure that this is correct. The annotation for the sheet model, the annotation part of it, needs to stay at full scale, or full size, 1 equals 1. We'll go ahead and have our open model checked on, so it'll open to the last model that we create. And since we have create sheet models checked on, it's going to create that sheet model for us to get into. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the OK button, and it's going to process. And it will open up to the last sheet model that we've created. Now I am finished with this name boundary tool, so I'm going to go ahead and close it out. This brings us to what we've got going on here is our 4 different pattern lines that came in. And let's look at them real close. Like we've got a 602 5949, but it don't give us a -1 on this. So we're going to have to verify which one's which, so that we can tie into the next one. And from what I've seen with the box that it picked, it went the first name boundary. If we go back to that multi-model tool view, you can see that first model or the sheet that we created, a drawing model that we created. You can see that it's shorter than the other one, so that gives me a little bit of a hint of what's going on here. But we can also use our referencing to figure it out. So let me go back to this. We've done this, create drawing, we did that, we hit the OK. So I just picked a major grid. You can pick whatever you want. Now editing the sheet model, I've got steps in here. Don't have any screenshots or anything, but it pretty much lines out what you need to do. We're going to open up the reference tool and reference in the drawing model into the currently open sheet model. In this case, I've already got all my models in the sheet. If I would have created several more, I could go over about different sheet models and reference them around however I needed. But in this case, we only have the 4 drawing models referenced in, and I'll show you how to tie them together. The scale of the referenced file may need to be changed to match the original drawing model scale. And you'd see that once you reference one in that came from a different sheet that wasn't included in the sheet model. In our case, everything's already in here, so they're all the same scale. But if you reference one in from another area, then it's going to show you that the scale might be 120 instead of 1200. You got to go out and just tweak that a little bit in the reference dialog to get that to the correct scale. We're going to use the move option in the reference dialog to place a drawing model next to the original drawing model. Okay, and we're going to use a common point and AccuSnaps to accomplish this. Now the big thing about this is there's a big note. Only use the key point snap, as there is an issue with the intersection snap where it loses the annotation. And I've seen people have this issue. You go to move it, you use the key point, boom, everything's gone. You lose all that annotation, and it's crazy. So I found if you use the key point snap, it rarely fails on us. So I'm saying that we're doing a live demo. This is going to be great. Not a live demo, I'm making a video. But anyway, there will be overlapping annotations of the elevations that need to be deleted. I'll show you how to clean them up. And then we'll open each drawing model and delete the elevation annotations that need to be removed. And then we'll open the sheet model and verify all looks well. So let's go do all that I just have in this paragraph. So I can see that 60259, this is their very first left side, okay? That's what that is. And then the next one is actually the 605, which would be this one, needs to go butted up against here. So first thing I want to do is move the 60659 out of the way. To do this, I'll use my reference dialog and find it. And when it pops up, I'm going to make this a little larger so we see stuff. See what we got here. Up, and I'm going to change it from boundaries to both. I want to see when I have one selected which one it is. So this is my very first one, and that's the 60259.49, no -1. -1 would be the one right above it. Okay, the one I need to move is this one over here, and it's the 606 one, so I'm going to grab that 606 one, just like so, and I'm going to do a tools move. Okay, and I have key point snap on, so I'm just going to grab a spot. I'm going to move it, and it looks like it's lost the annotation just like that. Remember when I said it wouldn't do that? Well, it did it. That's all right. We're going to come back and fix that in a little bit. That's another learning thing. But what I want to do is I want to move this one at the top. I want to move it down here and tie it to the next one. Okay, so to do that, I need to verify which one this one is, which is probably that third one, the 605.1793. And then again, I'll do a tools move, and I'm going to zoom in. And what I'm looking for is a common elevation, and that 775 looks pretty good. It's got to be on both. So I'm going to kind of get in here to where I see that snap, and I'm going to left click and hold it. And you can see right now I've got my annotation. So I'm good. And I think I messed that one up by selecting an area where I didn't need to, where I needed to select a different area. So what I want to do is I'm wanting to get this to that 775, the previous model that's out there. And you can see, as I get to that snap, you can see our our slope line is tying perfectly and everything like we want. So all you have to do then here is accept that key point snap. It's moved it in, and then we'll right click, we're finished moving it. And you can see we've got these two together. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and change this back to highlight our boundaries and then close it out for right now. Okay, so this is what it looks like. I'd like to clean this up in here. I want to get rid of these elevations. I also want to get rid of the station over here because this station represents where it's at across that alignment. So, couple things to do. We'll go into each one of these drawing models and clean them up. So I want to go to that 605-1793. I'll do that first. 605-1793. Drawing model is the gray. Come in here. And this one is butting up on the left side, so all we need to do here is come in and just place a window around this and then hit your delete key. Okay? And then now we'll go into the other one, which is a 602-59 drawing model and not the -1. So I'll go into that one. And we're going to want to remove this right side. So I'm just going to place a window around that information and do a delete. And then I'm also going to delete the station here. And now after you've done that, you can go back to your sheet model and you'll see that we've cleaned this up. Okay? Now the other part is this part here. How are we going to get this back? This is once it's been moved, it's kind of tricky. So let me do that. Let me go to that one that we had, which is 606 tools. Move, see if I can find another spot. You notice it doesn't snap to the proposed data. It won't do that. Okay, there I found a spot that it'll snap to, brought my data back. I'm good to go. But I'm at 785 or so. So I'm going to drop it off close and move it again. Actually, I'm going to have to move both of them. It looks like I got them in a bad area. So I'm going to move on here. Right click, be done with it. Go to the first dash, that 602-1. And I'll go ahead and do both so I know which one I have. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this straight up. But when I do, I'm going to actually try to snap to something that's there. Not just like I did earlier, just kind of left click to get a point. I'm going to try to get something that's real. And this elevation, these lines work really well. So once I grab it, I'll just bring it up a little bit. And bring it out. That'd be cool. Now to match those up. So I'll go back to the one that's out there. That's the 606-59. I'll grab it, do a tools move. And you can see we have a common one right around 775 again, so I'm going to use that 775. I like where it's coming in. I can see my ground line. So I'll grab it. Once it's grabbed, go back over to that 775 of the other model. I might have to zoom in a little bit. And I want to make sure I got that gold X. Once I've got it, left click. Okay. There, I moved that one over. Okay, so there's a couple things. I can see that this is going to be bad. I'm going to move this over a little bit. I'm going to get rid of this annotation here and get rid of this annotation. And pretty much we'll be done with this. So let me go to the drawing model for the very first one. Or the -1. Open this up. I'm going to remove this. Okay, I'll do it this way. And then I'm going to come over, since we're tying in on this right side, I'm going to get rid of all this. And then I'm going to go to the other model, which was the 606-59. Open it up. I'm definitely going to move this over a little ways. It don't have to be that much. It just needs to be a little bit. Let's move it over a ways. Right. We tie in right here on the left side, so I'm going to get rid of this. Delete. And then go back to my sheet model and verify that it looks good. All looks pretty good. And that is how you do that's how you do these can't even think of it right now. Bent cross sections. That's how you do them. If you have any questions, get a hold of me. I'm gonna put this video out there for everybody to see. That should do it.